Interview with Lina Heydrich. Question. I would like to ask you a few questions about what you remember about the Third Reich and the war, and your husband Reinhard. Lina. Yes, ask away. I'm willing to talk to you and tell you what I remember. Question. I understand you were an early party member and encouraged your husband to join the SS. Lina. Yes, I had a brother who was bothered by what he saw his nation becoming, and the National Socialists had the vision and answers to save Germany. He encouraged me to read literature and to go to his speech. I personally met Hitler and was very impressed. I knew what he was saying was right. It is true that I joined the NS Party, and when I met my former husband, I encouraged him to pursue a career in the SS. The Reds in Germany were led mainly by Jews and were very cruel to the early party men. They would firebomb homes, attack SA men, killing many. I had run ins with them too. They would try to get party members fired from jobs, harassed, and threatened. The SA had to be tough to combat this, and they did a good job since most were former soldiers and could fight. The SS was formed to protect speakers from harm. These mobs would come to disrupt talks and meetings. Question. What do you remember about Himmler? Lena. The Reichsfuhrer Himmler was a dreamer. He had a vision for a great new world, one in which the Germanic peoples were safe and secure. I remember he was very kind and always took an interest in making sure the wives and family of his men were well looked after, especially if they fell. He created a force that was a noble knighthood of brave, honorable, and loyal men. The only thing that aggravated me was his marriage. He was unhappy in it and thought his pretty secretary who was younger. However, this seems common in all societies, especially today. He maintained a very good relationship with his first wife and treated her very well. He understood a war was being waged on the Germanic bloodlines, and he was dedicated to stopping it and reversing the damage. I really enjoyed hearing his ideas and vision. If Germany had won the war, we would be looking at a completely new world right now. Question. How so? Lena. Himmler understood there is a race of people we call Jews who are actively trying to destroy the bloodlines of Aryan people through pollution of the races. They have been fighting this war for a few thousand years, and our people are completely unaware it is going on. Intellectuals portray race today as if race is unimportant. Anyone who defends keeping a race untainted is an evil person. The SS wanted the Germanic peoples of Europe to enjoy a life where their race was everything, and survival was guaranteed. This is why so many Europeans came to the SS. They understood Jewish Marxism was a growing danger, and it sought to use the ignorant masses to commit their own suicide, so to speak. It uses people as slaves to the system, and then when they are defenseless, they are forced to accept all races into their spheres, which will eventually outbreed and replace them. This was the mission of the SS to reverse this mentality and to give the nations many healthy European children. This does not mean killing defective people as is claimed. It means to use selective breeding to make sure your mate is healthy and free of defects. This guarantees a healthy bloodline that makes life easier for all. It was sad to visit sanitariums where defective children were just dropped off as unwanted due to irresponsible parents who gave no thought to what the outcome of mating would be. Question. Did your husband believe this also? Lena. Yes, he did. We grew up in a world in which no second thought was given to the blood of Europe. It was always taken for granted that our bloodlines would never be in trouble. The First War showed it could happen, and a few sounded the alarm that Europe's holy blood must be protected from the outside influences of the Jew and the hordes they bring into the nations they settle in. My husband saw this well and was in complete agreement with the Reichsfuhrer Himmler on this topic. He felt sorry for the children he would see, and pushed for education regarding genetics and choosing wisely when it came to bearing children. Sadly, not everyone is healthy enough to bring healthy children to the world. When children are born not healthy, the people suffer to care for them. Thus, it is unfair to burden your people due to your uncontrolled urges. Genetics is everything to a healthy people. Question. If I can ask a difficult question, I read your husband was killed because he was so bad to the people of Czechoslovakia. Do you believe this to be the truth? Lina, no, the opposite is actually the truth. I was there, and even though my husband never involved me in his business, I saw the way the people were treated and how they behaved. When my husband was appointed the protector, it meant exactly what the word means, to protect. When he came into this position, he was disheartened that National Socialist Germany was kind to other nations, but Czech was not treated exactly the same, as their former leaders were anti German. He went to work to change that by ordering better rations, working conditions, paid holidays and trips, less control, and better access to him. He wanted the people to buy into helping Germany win and assured them that they would have their voices heard. It worked, as production soared and sabotage was non existent. It was a great lie that he was killed because he was bad. In truth, he was killed because he was so good and the people liked him. The Allies, who authorized the killing, jumped at the chance to kill a top official, which was against the rules of war. Communists were trained by the English and sent in. The outpouring of grief and support by the people of Prague is undeniable. Long lines paid a final farewell. Would they have done this if he were a hangman, as claimed by the victors? I can recall many acts of compassion and charity my man showed the people. He always wanted to show a good example of National Socialism in action. I remember a story my man told me where a Czech family had their daughter raped by a Polish man in 1939. He was arrested but charged under Polish law and jailed. They came to my husband and asked that he face justice according to German law, since German oversaw the territory where the attack happened. My husband reviewed the case and then ordered the police in that area to remove and execute the rapist according to German law. The family thanked him by bringing flowers and gifts to show their gratitude and telling him their daughter now did not live in fear that her attacker was still alive. Question: what about Lidis and all the death that happened after he was killed? Lina, I have never heard the name until after the war. From what I understand, there was a small group in Czechoslovakia who resisted German rule, and you call them partisans. Part of the group went to England to get money and supplies for the assassination, and they stored what they brought back in Lidis. The townspeople all knew they were there and what they were doing. They promised the people that the Allies were coming to help them and the Germans would be gone soon. The townspeople illegally aided them and hid them. Not one notified the police. They allowed Allied weapons and communication equipment to be hidden in homes. They became Francs-tireurs due to passively or actively aiding illegal operations against the government. The men were shot, the women sent to prison. German police were dealing with the harsh reality of terrorists in the Balkans and the front. The measure had to be hard to deter further attacks and punish the guilty. I will tell you from what I have heard from other SS men, the terrorists they fought were sadistic killers, many times killing innocents to try to make a point. It is interesting to me today that these people are now hailed as heroes, getting parks and streets named after them. If the world only knew the truth, they would scorn them and condemn them. Did your husband believe as Reichsfuhrer Himmler did regarding religion in pagan ways? Lina, if I understand your question, did my husband think like Himmler regarding religion? I will say my husband was a Christian and an ASS man. I will try to explain. The SS was a unit based on love of the people, revering the past and honoring where we came from. One topic the Reichsfuhrer Himmler would spend hours on is where did we come from? Why is it that most all of the world is conquered and influenced by only one race of people? What makes this race so special? That was what the Ahnenerbe was created to study and why the SS supported it. Someday, I hope the expeditions of the Ahnenerbe will get the attention they deserve. I have heard rumors of Aryan mummies in the Orient, Egypt, America, and all over the world. These predate the history of the so-called native people. The SS wanted to prove our race had beginnings, it would seem, in the areas of Persia, but spread out all over the world. The link to pagan symbols is only out of respect for the ancestors who came to Europe and formed great advanced societies. Germanic peoples are the driving force of nearly every great discovery, so we honor their symbols because this was our past. A lie being told in Germany today by the churches is that the SS hated religion and persecuted the church. This is false. There was a strange link between Germany's pagan past and the Christian present. Some in the SS only wanted to follow the past and reject Christianity as a Jewish tale. However, the Reichsfuhrer Himmler posed the question, perhaps the Jews of today are not the same people the Bible speaks about. Perhaps they are liars and deceivers who have stolen the identity of the true great race of the Creator. The SS was not anti-religion. We attended church services often. Most all SS men did. What we opposed is the Jewish influence over our religion and history. This is what Martin Luther warned about. Jews long ago trying to take over and influence the early church. My husband battled with some parishioners who just could not understand this. To them, the Jew was a chosen, protected people, that no matter how evil they were, the Creator still held them above all. What craziness to think such an ugly and hateful people could be a chosen people. Question. You stayed in contact with former SS comrades. Lina. Yes. The SS always takes care of our own as best we can. My man had very loyal friends and comrades. He was very well liked due to his kindness and direct manner. I understand he was sometimes hard to work for, but he was always respected. I would give support to any former SS man who needed it. My husband had an inn on the North Sea, and I entertained many comrades there. I believe it was burned down due to the political nature it had. I still stay in contact with many friends of my former husband, but sadly, time is calling more and more away to the next world. I was always impressed with the many who stayed loyal to National Socialism and Himmler, even when the Allies made it a crime punishable by death. Even today, there is still a strong bond that threats and hate cannot break. The Fuhrer would be proud of how many stayed true to National Socialism and our faith in him. Question. What was the end of the war like for you? Lina. Horrible. It was some of my worst memories. I am sometimes glad my husband missed seeing the downfall of what he helped build and love. The Fuhrer granted my family an estate due to my husband's murder. At war's end, the Reds were coming, and I was warned about the horrendous atrocities happening, so I fled with others. It was feared as it was fearful as planes were strafing refugees, and I had my children with me. Partisans also moved into the area as the military completely collapsed. These bands murdered many soldiers. I was lucky to make it to the Reich, but the Allies arrested me as being the wife of a war criminal, mocked and harassed by former Germans who fled and came back as interpreters or guards for the Allies, was my experience. I was forced to see movies depicting the camps, and I was shocked by what I saw. However, an SS doctor explained that the Allies, due to a breakdown in supplies reaching the camps, indirectly killed the inmates in the camps. 30 prisoners from the East infected the camps in late 1944, early 1945, and the result was typhus that even the Allies had trouble controlling. They used propaganda tricks to make people believe there was a state policy to kill, and this was proof. They claimed my husband started it all, but I knew he was incapable of this. He did not like most Jews and said they should be resettled to where they came from so the world could be at peace, but never killed. Question. Did your husband ever disagree with Himmler? Lina. Oh, yes. There were times when he would speak about some of Reichsfuhrer Himmler's ideas about marriage, religion, and the conduct of the war. Mostly they agreed and were of the same beliefs. However, the Reichsfuhrer SS Himmler would get so agitated though when my man did not want to hear his ideas during a dinner, for example. He always wanted to turn the conversation to music or something happy. As I mentioned, Reichsfuhrer Himmler was a dreamer and a visionary. He wanted everyone to be aware of what his plans were to secure Germany's existence thus securing Germanic culture. Himmler believed in reincarnation and thought he was King Heinrich, an idea my man agreed could be possible. No one really knows what the next life will bring, so sometimes it is good to dream.